fastest T3 flying anywhere in the world. And the lowest hours was only 1,600 hours. You can see the little fuel tanks down the end of the wing boosting the fuel capacity of the aircraft. A little bit about Ollie. He was in the RAF in 2007. He was transferred to the Royal Canadian Air Force, 436 Squadron, and down after the Heavy, where has two spars, outer engine has one, outer wing should I say, has one main spar. The whole, the outer wing is bolted onto the centre wing by a series of about 480 bolts, literally holding two parts of the wing frame together. And it's both the aeroplane, strong and running aeroplane. This aircraft was capable of taking jeeps and howitzers to war. It was capable of flying across the hump, as it were, the Himalayas in the battle in the Far East. They were used as glider tugs during D-Day and as parachuters. Ladies and gentlemen, he's coming in really low ahead of you now. Nice pass for the DC-3 Dakota. That's the photograph you want there. You can see a full-time range markings on the front, and the fact that she's looking grey and warm, that's just what it's going to really did do. P-51 Mustang jumping jack. A rare P-40. Peter has some 8,000 hours experience and over 11,000 flights in locals, and spends most weekends during the summer flying in portable aircraft all over the UK and Europe. His family, he says, is generally supportive, but his wife does think old planes should be in a museum along with their old pilots. Actually painted pink. Most Spitfires are a bit weird on the ground. It's a good colour too. At high speeds of over 400 miles an hour, and as such was the fastest of all the birds that had Spitfires.
Display of the season. The great weather, a great turnout it turned out to be. So you'll see in front of you two fine examples from the Heritage Aircraft Trust, who were displayed to you under the brand of the NAT display team. The yellow one, G-Roar, and the red one, G-Rory. That's their civilian registrations. There used to be NATs used to train fast jet pilots at RAF Valley. They're painted up in the Yellow Jacks formation, which is a predecessor to the Red Arrows from the early 60s. And the other one, are fast jet pilots in the 60s through to 1978. The very nimble and agile training aircraft based on a fighter design, but the British didn't buy it as a fighter design. The Indians and the Finns bought it as a fighter design. The British chose to have it as a replacement fast jet trainer, so they somehow managed to sandwich into that small airframe a second seat. And as it goes past, you'll see how really small those little aircraft are. This is a minor stern class. Smoke is produced by diesel, just straightforward red diesel, in a tank in the back of the aircraft, and the pilot has a switch, very similar to the Red Arrows, and when he presses the switch, we get smoke coming out the back, which is... We're restoring that now to its full glory, and we hope to be flying it on the display scene next season. The two NATs now reformed in line astern. You may well have seen the Vulcan orbiting over in the distance, over towards Alvington Airfield, straight in front of you. They will be formating up with the Vulcan once you watch another display in about 5 or 10 minutes. And then there will be, he flies gliders at a very exceptional competition level and instructs for the Air Force. Very accomplished and experienced pilot. Mark Fitzgerald was historically in Cambridge University Air Squadron, where he met another colleague passed away in a tragic accident some weeks ago at Chris Evans' Alton Park event called Carfest. And we will be doing a memorial event for him with the Tin Triangle Vulcan, which will be a special event for you to have your cameras ready for in a few moments. But first, let's enjoy the NAT. We're coming to the end of the formation section of the display. You'll see them coming towards you from straight ahead now, what we call the B-axis, and they will perform an opposition break and then go into a number of opposition passes and manoeuvres. There they go.
She's 55 years old, this Vulcan, and it is 8 years since she first flew again, having left the Royal Air Force in 1993. Had been rebuilt until she flew again in 2007. So 558 has turned out to be a significant number. Now I'm told that when you see all of that unburned fuel at the back of the Vulcan, where she is off to our left now, I'm told that it's not as bad at pollution as a VW. Perhaps we shouldn't be saying that today. Silhouetted against those lovely white clouds, a magnificent sight that after today you will never see again. And the sun just picking out the colours, the camouflage colours of the Vulcan, which of course originally started out in bright white colour scheme when it was a nuclear bomber and became tactically coloured with camouflage. And they are picking out those colours and the yellow and red of the two NATs. The Yellow Jack, that predecessor of the Red Arrows, and the 4 FTS Valley NAT. flying the third nat. And today we're going to pay tribute to Kev Wyman, and when the formation comes by the next time, they will do what's called the missing man formation. This was an American idea, wasn't done very much by the British during the war, but I think it's entirely suitable for an occasion like this. The idea is that as the aircraft pass by, one of the aircraft will pull up and out of the formation, which signifies the pilot who did not come back from the mission, in this case, Kev Wyman. As they go away from us, the aircraft are getting into the echelon formation with the two nats out on the right wingtip of the Vulcan. That is the traditional way formation from which to start the missing man maneuver. So keep your eyes on that formation as it comes towards us. And the captain is suspected. Accelerating, coming in quite slowly, and then she'll put the power on those four Rolls-Royce Bristol Olympus engines, and with a bit of luck we'll hear a howl. So, welcome to one of the very last flying displays of a British aeroplane that represents the very best imaginative thinking out of the box virtues of aeronautical design. Set very high, on very long, otherwise she accelerates to beyond various speed limits. But was drawn on a scruffy piece of paper in about 1946 by the wonderful Roy Chadwick, the man who designed the Lancaster. So eventually Vulcan flew only 11 years for the Lancaster, 1941, 1952 for Vulcan. inside carry the British nuclear deterrent, the megaton weapons that were going to destroy if they needed to. So the Soviet Union, of course, Russia and the Soviet Union, that eventually backed down in that Cold War. And Vulcan was one of the very important factors that caused that to happen. You'll see that Martin has put the wheels down on the Vulcan now. As they come by up to the centre of the display, you can expect to see them retracting again. They're not landing here today, but if you've got binoculars, you'll be able to count them. There are 18 wheels altogether, 16 on the main undercarriage and on the nose undercarriage. After Vulcans had gone out of service, they were still so popular in the Air Force that they kept this aircraft, one Vulcan, on as the Vulcan flight, Vulcan display flight. But eventually, come 1992, that was her last season, they couldn't afford it anymore, and in 1993 she was sold off. Fortunately, she was sold to David Walton. Without him, this aeroplane would not be here today. Bay opening, the bomb doors, that is the heart of the bomber. That's when taking down through the Falkland Islands. Elements carried in the bomb bay these days the names of a lot of Vulcan supporters, people who contributed some of the £23 million it's cost to get her to this stage. As she comes by this time, in keeping with her performance, she has fighter control columns for each of the pilots, not the kind of big steering wheel type yoke that you normally see in a bomber. So this really is her last season. She has 2 more shows to do next weekend and then 2 big tours the following weekend, one north, one south. Quite what happens on her last day of flying we don't know at the moment. So why is this? It is because 3 technical authority companies decided they can't support it. Those companies are BAE Systems, Rolls-Royce, and Marshall Aerospace. And those 3 companies have given great support over the years, but the important thing is that once they decided that they couldn't support her anymore, she then, her civil permit to fly lapses. So After next month, she becomes illegal. It isn't anything to do with money, it's nothing to do with lack of spares, but it is to do with a third-party mandatory support that she will no longer have. She is still a safe aeroplane. She's been technically very strong. She had a couple of little hitches in the past month, but before that she had not lost the display through technical problems since 2013. And she is looked after by Taff Stone and his crew at Robin Hood Airport, Doncaster. He says 558 is my baby, and they do a brilliant job. His team, Ray Watts, Rick Lee, Mark Brown, and John, plus Tony Hunter, who's mum to all. She's much too young to be mum to any. Last year, she did 25 flying displays, none of them for technical reasons. So, this, I believe, will be her last class.